what I'm trying to work on is learning without a teacher. And this idea of self-supervised learning is that you don't need to label images with the name of the object that is in it. You just have a machine, or do like an animal, observe the world going by, and or maybe act to some extent, and then understand how the world works. For example, is a question among cognitive scientists, which is whether genetics sort of builds into our brain the notion that the world is three-dimensional. Is it something that we learn, or is it something that we're born with? Now, we can obviously learn with different types of universes in video games, for example, that are not 3D, that are either 2D or 4D or whatever. And so it would seem strange that this is hardwired into a brain when we seem to be able to learn it so quickly in adulthood. And the fact that the world is three-dimensional is the best explanation for how our view of the world changes when we move our head, or when we go from seeing from the left eye to the right eye. And so it's something that is very simple to learn. In fact, should be very simple to learn for a machine that is properly built, as it is easy to learn for animals and humans. And then you can imagine, sort of, once you know that the world is three-dimensional, you can figure out there are objects in front of others, there are images, there are objects that move in predictable ways, there are objects that move in somewhat less predictable ways, animate objects, or things like water and things like that. And you can imagine sort of learning a hierarchy of abstract representations of the world by basically training the machine to predict what's going to happen next. So that's the basic idea of self-supervised learning. So I think the type of learning that we learn by being taught, or by imitation, or by trial and error, which is sort of like reinforcement learning, is a tiny sliver of knowledge. Most of the knowledge we learn basically by observation and a little bit by interaction. There are other things in your talk that I found really compelling. I mean, this last thing here is, or maybe just the one before, the slide before, guardian angels, cognition amplifiers. I mean, I think this is a future that is coming. This is certainly a vision that Meta, the new name for Facebook, has expressed, in the sense that in the next 10 years or so, we're going to shift from essentially communicating with machines or with the digital world through smartphones. We're going to shift from smartphones to things like augmented reality glasses and virtual reality glasses. And augmented reality glasses, we're going to need to interact with them. So they might be the platform on which we run those, guardian angels and personal virtual assistants that help us in our daily lives and amplify our intelligence. They're going to be aware of the context of where we are, and they're going to be maybe able to pay our bills for us without asking us every time, or order our groceries, but also inform us of dangers and tell us what we're looking at and things like that. And this is going to change humanity itself, but also in the shorter term, how we interact with machines. It's really difficult to imagine in the long run what technological changes are doing. We usually overestimate the impact of technology in the short term and underestimate the impact in the long term. Someone famous said this, I can't remember who it was.
There's a hierarchy, as Yann was saying, in this whole learning task.
Not be affected by artificial intelligence, because we have spoken about creativity, about
well, it's like asking are there aspects of human life that are not affected by electrical power? I mean, sure, you can live in the woods without electrical power, but the path of least resistance for most people is to actually have somehow access to electrical power. So I think it's going to be the same for AI. It's going to multiply your intelligence, as Raj said, and people will find they probably have a hard time not using it in situations. It's going to make everyone more productive and powerful in some way. I imagine a few people will sort of avoid it.
I think in the at least near-term future, find, just like, Industrial Revolution and subsequent things, invention of electricity and automobiles and everything, planes, kind of enhance our physical capabilities and, we could do things. I think we'll have, capabilities that we don't now have. That's where these guardian angel technologies come in. They can find out things that are happening around the world that we don't have enough capability to find out, and then synthesize the implications of it and tell us something bad is going to happen or something else, there's a traffic jam there, take this other route or whatever. And all of those things will significantly enhance our abilities to do things that we now cannot do. That doesn't mean they're going to replace us or anything, they're just giving us additional capability. And we never complained when the computers were initially invented to multiply numbers in the 40s and 50s. And that's all they could do for nuclear codes. And during that time, already we could actually multiply, a million times better than human beings can. And so this is a continuum of capabilities that the AI systems will create for human beings so that we can be a lot more effective and productive. Now, of course, people will say if you're more productive, they will lose the jobs. That is not going to be the case. I think we'll always find things to do and there will be wealth to create, because compared to 100 years ago, we are much better off. The whole world is much better off. In 100 years, that will be again the case. Today, there are a lot of people that are still go hungry, that are still illiterate. So there is a big debate in USA about providing free education all the way to the thing, because right now the systems are such that it costs a lot of money. But if we improve the productivity and if everybody can learn without a teacher, and we can give everybody college level education without their even, there's a whole model called KG to PG without leaving your village. Because we now have the technology to provide all the education and tools without, and so there will be a lot of things that will happen that are going to be truly, transformative for the society, and that won't lead to loss of jobs. We can use a lot more teachers, learning without a teacher.
So us AI researchers are going to put ourselves, university professors, out of a job, right?
No, university professors will not be out of a job. None of the people exist in a current one, because it turns out that people get stuck when they're learning. They need to ask somebody. It will become, as Justine was saying, one-on-one tutoring. Right now we don't do that because it cannot be done. There's not enough people. If you can provide one-on-one tutoring and on demand when the student is stuck, then that will in fact mean they will learn much faster. They'll learn what they're motivated to learn, not because somebody else laid out a curriculum. And so it's an exciting future world in which people learn what they want to learn, not what they're told to learn.
Thank you. We are going on a little bit at the end of the session, so maybe as a conclusion, do you have a few words, maybe your best prediction or your hope or your fear, maybe?
My prediction basically follows Alan Kay. Alan Kay said in, I think, 1971, he was supposed to be paraphrasing Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And Alan Kay said, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. I think we in AI know all the things that can be done and will be done. We should invent them because it's good for humankind. It will help people to do more things with less effort. And that's where I think the opportunities are.
Yeah, since our forebears in AI have systematically been wrong about predictions on the progress of AI. I think I'll stick to the inventing thing and not go into the predicting thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I have a rather, I'm not sure if it's optimistic because every technological progress is kind of a double-edged sword, and it can be used for good things and bad things. The best way to protect ourselves against bad uses of technology generally and AI in particular is the strength of our democratic institutions. So, let's defend democracy.
Thank you very much. So thank you, both of you.